So welcome everyone. To a lot of you, welcome back everyone. I think you've been excited to this presentation, hoping that something would happen to fix the problem that we all were dealing with last February. So today's show we're calling The Cure to Prop 19, and as a special guest, a lot of you didn't know we were having a guest. We have Susan Shelley. She's the Vice President of Communications for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. So Susan, wave to everybody.
Great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
So Susan is going to be available for questions and answers, and is going to be helping me out with the presentation, and she's going to get some credit for helping cure this problem. So let me see if I can change my slides. So my presentation is going to take about 20 minutes today, and then we're just going to have time for questions and answers, because some of the things you might need to do here, you don't need to do yet. So number one, I'm going to remind you what Prop 19 did to us. Number two, I'm going to explain the proposed Repeal the Death Tax Act. I'm going to explain what you should do right now, what to do if we pass the Death Tax Act repeal, and then questions and answers. So off we go. Every lawyer needs a disclaimer. Some of you have seen this before. We're going to provide general information, not specific advice for your situation. So if I give you an idea that you like, you should follow up with me to ensure it's okay. And I am going to be doing that. I'm going to say some people should do this if the new law passes. And at the bottom it says, of course, don't try this at home. So most of you know me. I am Joel Harris. I am a state bar certified specialist in estate planning, trust, and probate law. I'm 32 out of my office in Antioch. I also have an office in Walnut Creek. I love to write estate plans and update and repair old estate plans for folks. And sadly, I do a lot of probate and trust administrations. Because of COVID, I'm getting about 50% more cases than I used to. And the probates are way up. I'm getting so many, we can't handle them all. And some of the courts are almost a year behind on giving us an initial date. So you want to make sure your estate is set up to avoid probate court. Otherwise, it'll be years before your heirs get any money. Plus, I like to show this headshot. It's one of my better ones. Our other speaker, I didn't have a chance to do an introduction from. So Susan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, thank you. Can you hear me okay on this? I'm having a little glitchiness on my screen.
You sound great.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Susan Shelley, and I'm the Vice President of Communications for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, the most influential taxpayer advocacy group in California. And you can find all the information about the organization and this campaign at hjta.org, hjta.org, or Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. And I'm very honored to be with you.
Also, the chat room is a great way to ask us questions. So I'll have Q&A at the end, and you can even talk out loud, but if you put the questions in the chat room, that's even better. So I saved a few cartoons from the last presentation. Hopefully you've forgotten them, so I get credit for amusing you all again. Cause of death, sudden heart attack brought on by opening his property tax bill. So Prop 19, the good part, you will notice, is a very small screen. There's only one good part about Prop 19, and that is allowing people who are 55 or older, unfortunately I count as a senior now, disabled or victims of the wildfires, to move 3 times within the state of California and keep their Prop 13. The reason that this was in the proposition was for the realtors to generate more transactions. So they gave us something good along with all the bad. So this is the good part of Prop 19. And of course, there are a lot of bad parts. The worst parts are this top 3. No more parent-to-child exemption for the primary residence, with a limited exception. There are no grandparent-grandchild exemption anymore. And the $1 million of other property exemption was eliminated. And we had a very short time to put this into effect. we got some very bad information from some of the county assessors and other people that caused a lot of folks to scramble, even though they didn't have to have things signed until February 15th. We were told by some of the counties that we had to get them in about a month early to get them recorded on time. Turned out that wasn't true. So here comes Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association to the rescue. This is called the Repeal the Death Tax Act. And it's in the stage, the act's been written to go on the ballot, and now we are collecting signatures for the November ballot. And when I say we, I've got a big stack of these at my office for folks to come in and sign or pick up and pass around. But it's very important, in my opinion, as your attorney, we want to repeal the Death Tax Act. But what this actually does is it deletes parts of Prop 19 and changes a couple others slightly to make Prop 13 even better. So, number one, we've crossed out the bad parts, and some parts were simply obnoxious, where it said, you know, the purpose of Prop 19 is to stop the oil tycoons' families from having these giant mansions that don't get reassessed. Well, there's probably one or two, but 99.99% of the folks in California aren't Arab oil tycoons. So there was just some stupid stuff in there. The most important parts, number one, we are going to reinstate the parent-child and parent-grandchild exemption for transferring the home. It doesn't matter how much the home will be worth, just like before, and we don't have to make the kids move in just like before. They can keep the family home and keep the tax basis that it's at. The parent grandchild is particularly important, such as to my family, because my family has that situation where the parent has died and the grandparent would like to leave or give property to the grandchild, but the grandchild. Number three, we're reinstating the $1 million exemption for other property. And for decades, it's been at assessed value, not at current value. So if there's a family vacation home, a cabin in Tahoe that's been in the family for decades, you'll be able to keep that without having it reassessed unless the assessed value is over $1 million. And one improvement, the only real change from what we had before Prop 19 is the $1 million of other property exemption will now be scaled for inflation. So that brings it up to $2.4 million now, and it'll go up a little bit every year to help families with that. So for my clients and my family, this is wonderful, and it will go back retroactive to 2/16/21. I've had so many people die since then, and it's scary how many death certificates say COVID on them. Those families are having a lot of problems, and we can solve that problem if this passes. So we're putting it back the way it was. We're making last year go away, and we're having an inflation adjustment for other property that can be passed. And we're keeping the ability now to move and keep your Prop 13. So that will still make the realtors happy. They can sell more houses that way. There is a question in the chat room about a link to the flyers we're handing out. They were at my office. Susan sent me a pile of them, but if you can provide me your information or send me an email, I'll forward that to Susan, and then the organization will send them right to you. They'll send you a big, beautiful banner and handouts and the petitions to be signed. So put that in the chat or email me at joel@joelharrislaw.com, because that's how you can help now, is you can sign this petition. Susan, how many signatures do we need?
We need approximately 1.5 million signatures by April 15th. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody they can get the petition at the Howard Jarvis website. You'll see a big red flashing light at the top of hjta.org. Just click that, and then you'll see a button that says Get the Petition. Tell everyone you know in California, every registered voter may sign this, that they can get the petition. They can pick it up in more and more locations. or they can have it mailed to them, and then they can get 6 signatures, and that's how we're going to get there. But approximately 1.5 million signatures is what's needed to qualify in time for the November ballot.
And again, you can come to my office and pick up the petitions or sign the petitions. I also carry them around with me in my briefcase and in my car, and I make everyone I see sign it. Well, I don't make them, I tell them what it's for, and they can't sign fast enough. I've not had anybody say anything but, oh, thank God, when I show them that petition. But until this happens, there's nothing to do on your estate plans. Everything is in a holding pattern, because we'll have some opportunities when this passes, because I think if it gets on the ballot, I'll be shocked if it doesn't pass. I think it's going to pass by a great margin, because people had no idea what they were tricked into voting for on Prop 19. But until it passes, don't do anything with your estate plans. And I'm telling people, don't make gifts to property right now, because they're going to be under the current Prop 19 rules, and there'll be a reassessment. So we want to avoid that. So switching screens, if the Repeal the Death Tax Act passes, number one, if you've not done anything in anticipation of Prop 19 or decided not to do anything, you can celebrate, and there's nothing you need to do because you haven't done anything. But what if you have? I had quite a number of people make outright gifts of real estate, or put the real estate into special trusts, so their family would not be reassessed when they receive the property. And in some of those cases, we're going to modify or reverse those gifts, because what we did is we locked in the Prop 13 for your family, but in exchange, we lost the step up in basis. Now, most of my clients didn't care because they weren't going to sell the property anyway, and when they died, then they're but now, if we can get Prop 19 fixed, your family will be entitled to both the low property taxes that they've always had, and to get a step up in basis. So my associate Ray and I are actually right now working on the paperwork to allow people to modify the irrevocable trust they've already done to get all the benefits and none of the downsides. What's nice is in California, we have a fairly new law that basically says you can amend irrevocable trusts if the people who set up the trust sign off on it. So piece of cake, it'll be very easy to do. But this is going to be a very different situation for everybody, because some of the folks that we gave away properties for were also doing estate tax planning. So for some estates, it's best that we leave the property with the heirs now, because that will avoid a potential 40% tax. But for smaller estates where the property was your primary asset, we might gift back to allow your heirs to inherit it. So a case-by-case basis on how to upgrade your estate plan if and hopefully when the Repeal the Death Tax Act passes. And that's what I have to say. So I've got some really nice questions I'm going to start answering, and then